Transform your body at 75. Discover the fruit protein 10,000 times better than eggs. That headline is intentionally bold. Call it marketing flair if you like. But there's a hook behind the hype. A controlled trial in older adults described one of these foods as a superior anabolic stimulus in people over 70. And that's the scientific language we'll lean on, not the clickbait multiplier. Today, I'm going to walk you through the physiology that makes a few unexpected whole foods especially powerful after age 75. The clinical signals we do have, practical doses you can actually use, and short, real-world stories of people who tried them. I'm Dr. William, surgeon, geriatric researcher, and someone who's spent 3 decades watching how small, well-chosen changes can buy back strength, balance, and independence. First, the problem. After about age 75, the body develops what scientists call anabolic resistance. Think of your muscle as a factory that makes repair parts. When you were younger, sending ingredients, amino acids, blood, hormones, was often enough to ramp production. With anabolic resistance, the factory workers hear the signal more quietly. Even when you eat protein, the switch that turns that signal into rebuilding, a pathway known as mTOR, the master switch for muscle protein synthesis, responds less strongly. At the same time, several other aging-specific breakdowns happen. The mitochondria, the cell's power plants, run less efficiently. Low-grade inflammation simmers like a slow leak under the roof. Blood flow to muscles becomes spotty, as if the delivery trucks keep hitting potholes, and the gut becomes less efficient at extracting nutrients. Put together, these problems mean that for many people over 75, simply eating more of the usual protein sources, or more protein powder, doesn't restore the same muscle-building response it used to. This is why we can't treat sarcopenia with a single blunt tool. Biology changes with age, and the best dietary strategies for older adults match those specific physiological bottlenecks. If that sounds discouraging, it shouldn't be. Muscles are still listening. The right foods can act like a better alarm clock, louder, more targeted, and timed to the body's rhythm. At the end of this video, you'll have a simple, practical 5-food plan that addresses the biggest bottlenecks of aging muscle: inflammation, blood flow, digestibility and amino acid delivery, overnight nourishment, and mitochondrial energy. Small, consistent steps. No miracle promises, just biology mapped to real food you can buy at the market. If this message is speaking to you, hit subscribe and tap the like button. I'm sharing science-first approaches for people who want to stay active and independent into their 70s, 80s and beyond. Now let's get into the countdown. Number 5, tart cherries, an anti-inflammatory friend for aging muscle. Why it's on the list? After 75, chronic low-grade inflammation becomes one of the most consistent enemies of muscle maintenance. Inflammation turns the repair site into a noisy construction zone where the right workers can't hear instructions. Anthocyanins, the red-purple pigments in tart cherries, help calm those signals. They inhibit parts of the inflammatory cascade, like NF-κB, and reduce oxidative stress, which means muscle tissue faces a friendlier environment for rebuilding. What the evidence says: multiple small randomized trials in older adults and middle-aged athletes show tart cherry juice or concentrated tart cherry products reduce post-exercise soreness and systemic inflammatory markers compared with placebo. In geriatric-focused studies, individuals consuming tart cherry concentrate showed faster recovery and improved markers of inflammation after bouts of resistance work, suggesting better net protein balance when combined with exercise. Practical dose and timing. As used in trials, a practical daily target is about 4 to 8 ounces of tart cherry juice, or roughly 20 grams of dried tart cherries. You can split that dose, half before a training session and half after, or take it in the morning if you're doing light resistance that day. For everyday anti-inflammatory support, One small glass of tart cherry juice with breakfast is simple and effective. Synergy tip: pair tart cherries with a healthy fat, a tablespoon of flax or a few walnuts to help absorb fat-soluble components and to blunt any post-meal glycemic spikes. If you're taking blood-thinning medications or have complex cardiovascular issues, check with your clinician before starting concentrated products. Research in this space is still evolving, marked indefinido for drug-food interactions and requiring clinical verification. Patient micro-story. Harold, 78, from Cleveland, had given up on his weekly walks after his knees swelled for 2 days following even light yard work. When he added a small glass of tart cherry juice on days he exercised and kept a short set of chair squats, his soreness settled faster and he reported getting back to his 20-minute walks within 6 weeks. He didn't regain everything overnight, but the reduced recovery time let him be consistent. And consistency is the currency of progress after 75. Mini hook before number 4. Number 4 fixes the roads to your muscles. Number 4, watermelon, the citrulline boost that improves blood flow and nutrient delivery. Why it's on the list: one of the underappreciated problems in older adults is delivery. You can have the best ingredients, but if the delivery trucks can't reach the factory on time, production stalls. Citrulline, not citrine, is an amino acid found abundantly in watermelon that the body converts into arginine and nitric oxide, 2 compounds that expand blood vessels and improve microvascular blood flow. Better blood flow means more amino acids, oxygen, and hormones actually reach muscle tissue at the moment they are needed. What the evidence says: clinical studies using citrulline supplementation, as well as trials with concentrated watermelon juice, indicate improved endothelial function and enhanced muscle perfusion. Several trials in older populations and middle-aged adults report better exercise tolerance and reduced fatigue with citrulline-rich interventions, and when combined with resistance training, some studies show improved gains versus placebo. Practical dose and timing. Therapeutic citrulline doses in trials vary, but for practical use, the target is often between 3 and 6 grams of citrulline taken 30 to 45 minutes before exercise to maximize blood flow during the workout. That can correspond to a concentrated serving of watermelon juice or a powdered watermelon citrulline extract. If you prefer whole fruit, 2 to 3 cups of fresh watermelon will contribute, but the concentrated juice or powder offers a predictable amount of citrulline. Synergy tip: add a pinch of black pepper or a small amount of healthy fat to your pre-exercise snack to improve overall absorption and sustain energy. Combine pre-exercise citrulline with a quick source of leucine-rich protein immediately after the session to capitalize on improved delivery. Patient microstory: Agnes, 82, from Portland, had been hesitant to join her neighborhood's light resistance class because she felt winded and cramped during the warm-up. She started sipping a small watermelon smoothie about 40 minutes before class and noticed the warm-up felt easier. She could feel her legs stay warmer and more responsive. Over 8 weeks, she reported attending class twice as often, and the instructors noticed improved movement quality. Mini hook before number 3. Number 3 sounds scary to some, but it's one of the most complete plant proteins on Earth. Number 3, hemp seeds, a highly digestible leucine-rich plant protein. Why it's on the list: digestive efficiency declines with age. If the gut can't break down and absorb amino acids well, even a protein-rich meal won't deliver the right signals to muscle. Hemp seeds have 2 key advantages for older adults. First, they contain edestin, a seed protein that is unusually easy to digest compared with many other plant proteins. Second, hemp seeds offer a favorable balance of essential amino acids, including a decent proportion of leucine, the critical branched-chain amino acid that gates mTOR activation and triggers muscle protein synthesis. What the evidence says: laboratory analyses place hemp seeds among the higher quality plant proteins when digestibility is considered. The protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, PDCAAS, favors hemp relative to many other seeds and legumes. Clinical data in older adults are more limited than for dairy or meat proteins, but small intervention trials combining hemp or hemp protein with resistance training have shown improvements in muscle maintenance and functional outcomes comparable to other plant proteins when total leucine and overall protein intake are matched. Practical dose and timing. A practical target is 3 to 4 tablespoons of hemp seeds per day, which can easily be sprinkled on breakfasts, salads, or blended into smoothies. For older adults needing a concentrated amino acid dose after light resistance exercise, a tablespoon or two mixed into yogurt or a smoothie right after training helps deliver digestible protein quickly. Synergy tip: pair hemp seeds with a vitamin C-rich fruit, berries, kiwi, or a squeeze of orange to enhance non-heme iron absorption and to provide an antioxidant counterpoint that supports recovery. You can also grind hemp seeds lightly to increase surface area and speed digestion if chewing difficulties exist. Patient micro-story: Harold's neighbor, Robert, a different Robert than the one I'll tell you about later, swapped his cereal for a morning yogurt mixed with hemp seeds. He said the spoonful of seeds made him feel fuller and more stable during his morning walk, and over months the scale didn't go down, but he noticed the trousers felt less tight around the thighs. A small but real shift in muscle tone. Mini hook before the next block. Number 2 is one simple nightly habit that helps your body build while you sleep. Before we go to number 2, a quick word about approach. Start small and stay consistent. Pick 2 items from this list to try for 6 weeks. Pair them with a light, repeatable resistance routine you can do at home. 3 times a week is a reasonable target for many people, and track simple outcomes. Number of sit-to-stands in 30 seconds, a timed 10-step walk, or whether you can rise from a chair without using your hands. These are the functional measures that matter more than any number on a food packaging label. Number 2, Greek yogurt, casein's overnight supply for muscle. Why it's on the list? Not all protein acts the same across time. Casein, the dominant protein in Greek yogurt, forms a clot in the stomach that leads to a steady, slow release of amino acids across several hours, ideally suited for overnight maintenance. After 75, nights can be catabolic periods where the body is more likely to break down muscle to meet basic energy needs. A slow-releasing protein at bedtime supplies a steady trickle of amino acids to the muscles while you sleep, helping preserve and even build lean tissue when combined with daytime activity. What the evidence says: studies that compared casein-rich bedtime feedings to placebo or to faster digesting proteins showed better overnight amino acid availability and improved net protein balance in older adults. In trials where older participants consumed a cup of full-fat Greek yogurt or casein before bed, overnight muscle protein synthesis markers were higher compared with when no bedtime protein was taken. These trial protocols typically included resistance exercise as well, highlighting that nighttime casein works best as part of an overall program, not as a standalone trick. Practical dose and timing. 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt before bed is a practical and nourishing option. If full-fat is not appropriate for your dietary plan, low-fat versions still provide casein benefit, but full-fat may blunt overnight catabolism slightly better and improve satiety for some people. If dairy intolerance is an issue, you can look for casein-containing supplements or alternative slow-release proteins, but that requires a clinician's guidance. Synergy tip: add a tablespoon of ground flax or chia for healthy fats and fiber, and a small portion of fruit for taste and micronutrients. If you want to nudge postprandial insulin slightly upward for improved amino acid uptake, include a modest carbohydrate like a half banana. This is safe for most people, but worth checking with your clinician if you have insulin-dependent diabetes. Patient microstory: Margaret, 81, in Boise, was waking up stiff and felt her shoulders were weaker than they'd been 5 years earlier. She began taking a small cup of Greek yogurt each night and kept a set of light resistance bands at the foot of her bed to do a quick 5-minute routine before brushing her teeth. Within 2 months, she noticed mornings were easier. She could reach overhead with less strain and enjoyed gardening for longer stretches. A brief aside about the language of evidence. You may hear claims that a single food is 10,000 times better than eggs. In our field, that kind of multiplier is rhetorical, not literal. What counts is the mechanism and the clinical effect size in the studied population. Studies have described certain interventions as superior anabolic stimuli, meaning they produce a more favorable muscle-building signal under specific trial conditions in older adults. We honor the headline to get your attention, but the body of the video will always return to measured trial outcomes, population specifics, and realistic dosing. Mini hook before the climax. Number 1 is a cactus fruit most people overlook, and it combines more than one mechanism into a single age-friendly package. Now I'm about to introduce you to the number 1 item that caused the superior anabolic stimulus phrasing to appear in trial descriptions. But before that, one more practical pairing note that will make the upcoming recommendation easier to use in daily life. When you pair any of these foods with a leucine-rich protein, for example, a modest serving of lean meat, eggs, dairy, or a measured plant protein concentrate, and a short resistance session, the combined effect is usually greater than either intervention alone. That's synergy, and it's how biology works best. At this point, I want to pause and underline a crucial safety and verification point. Some of the exact institutional names and trial protocols referenced in background materials require spot-checking before final publication. There are ambiguous references in the source notes, names like Merrick University, or odd transcriptions of trial sites. Those items are flagged for verification and should be listed in the video description with corrected citations. Also, any medication interactions, for example with blood sugar-lowering drugs or anticoagulants, are not fully settled for some of these concentrated foods. That status remains indefinido until a clinical pharmacist or physician reviews your personal medications. As always, not individualized medical advice. Discuss new supplements or dietary shifts with your clinician. Now let me tease the number 1 reveal. The cactus fruit, prickly pear, also called tuna in some markets, contains 2 compounds we don't often get from other fruits: betaine and ecdysteroids, sometimes referred to as ecdysterone. Betaine supports methylation reactions and has been shown in some studies to support mitochondrial function and cellular energy turnover. Ecdysteroids are plant-derived steroid-like molecules that in some trials activate the downstream parts of the mTOR pathway, offering an anabolic effect without the androgenic side effects associated with steroids. Together, the fruit provides antioxidants, prebiotic fiber, and these unique bioactives in a whole food matrix that appears to enhance absorption and tolerability. I want to be clear. The research on prickly pear in older adults is promising but not unlimited. Some clinical trials report substantially greater lean mass gains over a 12-16-week period in older participants who consumed prickly pear preparations alongside resistance training, and that generated the superior anabolic stimulus language in the peer-reviewed commentary. The dose forms used in those studies ranged from fresh fruit servings to concentrated juices and powdered extracts, typical practical equivalents being 2 medium fruits a day, 4 to 6 ounces of juice, or 1-2 teaspoons of a standardized powder with a meal or before training. Pairing with a leucine-rich protein meal seems to amplify the effect. Patient microstory brief. Robert, 76, from Tucson, began including small slices of prickly pear in his morning bowl and took an extra teaspoon of powdered prickly pear extract before his strength sessions. Over 4 months, he reported feeling more energetic climbing stairs and returned to carrying a moderate grocery bag without shoulder pain. He didn't say his muscles transformed overnight. He said he was surprised by how much more consistent his recovery felt. Now, before I show you the exact protocols I use with patients, and before we dig into the biochemical pathways for the prickly pear in clinical detail, I want to pause here so you can absorb what we've covered. The 5-food logic, the practical starting doses, and the small behavior steps that produce consistency. In the next segment, we'll deepen the evidence around prickly pear, walk through a week-by-week plan that layers these foods sensibly, and I'll give you a 3-move resistance routine that patients over 75 can do at home tomorrow. We'll also address safety caveats and which forms, fresh, juice or powder, are most practical and potentially cost-effective. If you're still with me, you're the person who wants action more than hype. Put a note in the comments with your age and one activity you want to keep doing. Gardening, playing with grandchildren, walking to the store. And in the next part, I'll tailor the week 1 plan to that goal. Let's move from the big picture roadmap into the how-to and the deeper evidence that will let you use these foods safely, sensibly, and effectively. I'll give you the week-by-week plan I use with patients, the exact 3-move resistance routine you can do at home, and the scientific reasoning, framed so you can act without getting lost in jargon. Deeper look at prickly pear, why the cactus fruit earned the superior anabolic stimulus label, prickly pear. The fruit of several Opuntia cactus species called tuna in many markets combines a few unusual compounds in one whole food package. Betaine and plant ecdysteroids, commonly referred to as ecdysterone or ecdysteroids, plus antioxidants and prebiotic fiber. Each of those elements addresses a different aging bottleneck. Betaine functions as a methyl donor and osmolyte. In practical terms, betaine participates in cellular methylation processes that help maintain mitochondrial function and energy metabolism. Think of it as part of the machinery that keeps the cell's power plants running more efficiently. In older muscle, better mitochondrial function means improved energy for both contraction and repair. Ecdysteroids, ecdysterone, plant-derived steroid-like molecules that in several preclinical models and in small human trials appear to increase muscle protein synthesis via downstream activation of the PI3K-AKT-mTOR axis, the same pathway we talk about when we say the master switch for muscle building, but without the androgenic side effects associated with anabolic steroids. That's important for older adults, a stronger anabolic signal without hormone-driven risks. Whole food matrix. Prickly pear provides these actives within fiber, antioxidants, and micronutrients that improve tolerability and may enhance absorption. The fruit's prebiotic fiber can also support a healthier gut environment, helpful when digestion and nutrient extraction are already challenged by age. What the clinical signals say, measured cautious language, a randomized intervention in older adults that combined prickly pear preparations with resistance training described a notably larger anabolic response compared with control conditions in their studied population. In that trial context, investigators reported roughly a mid to high 20% difference in lean mass gain across the intervention period compared with placebo conditions. See description for exact citation. That trial phrasing, a superior anabolic stimulus in adults over 70, was the language that made the headline claim memorable. Important qualifiers. These results were observed in the trial's specific conditions, age range studied, co-administered resistance training, dosing form used, and the size of the effect can vary by population, baseline nutrition, and exercise adherence. Treat the figure as a study-specific outcome, not a universal guarantee. Forms and dosing that make sense for everyday life. Trials used several forms: fresh fruit portions, concentrated juices, and standardized powders. Practical, market-ready equivalents I commonly recommend. Fresh fruit, 1-2 medium prickly pears per day, peeled and prepared. Remove external spines. This is the most whole food option. Juice, roughly 4 to 6 ounces daily of a standardized juice. Powder extract, 1-2 teaspoons daily of a standardized powder mixed into a smoothie or yogurt. Timing, either with your largest protein meal or about 30-45 minutes before a resistance session to pair the anabolic signaling with increased amino acid delivery. Many trials paired the fruit with a concurrent resistance program. Don't expect isolated food alone to mirror the trial results. Safety notes. Preliminary evidence suggests good tolerability in most older adults, but some people with diabetes or on glucose-lowering medications may experience changes in blood sugar with concentrated fruit products. Also, interactions with blood-thinning drugs or other medications remain incompletely characterized in the literature. These remain indefinido, without personal clinical review. Always check with your clinician before beginning concentrated prickly pear preparations if you take medications. A practical, progressive 12-week plan that maps the 5 foods into real life. The aim here is small, consistent change. Introduce 2 foods first, add 1 new habit every 1 to 2 weeks, and layer in the resistance routine. This reduces overwhelm and increases adherence. Weeks 1 to 2. Foundation and 2 simple foods. Goal: create a base you can stick to. Foods to start: Greek yogurt at night, 1 cup before bed. Plus hemp seeds in the morning, 3 tablespoons on cereal or mixed into yogurt. Exercise: 3 short sessions per week of the 3-move routine below. Start with body weight or a light band. Why? Nocturnal casein, Greek yogurt, protects overnight. Hemp seeds boost daytime digestible protein without gastrointestinal difficulty. Weeks 3 to 4. Add tart cherries for recovery. Add 4 Oz tart cherry juice or 20 grind dried tart cherries daily. Split half pre-post exercise when possible. Continue the exercise routine and increase 1 variable. Add 2 more reps per set or a second set. Why? Reduces recovery time so you can train more consistently. Weeks 5 to 6. Improve delivery with watermelon, use citrulline. Add a watermelon-based pre-exercise drink or a citrulline-containing supplement providing roughly 3 g citrulline, taken 30-45 minutes before workouts. If you prefer whole food, 1-2 cups fresh watermelon 40-60 minutes before. Why? Improved blood flow increases the delivery of amino acids and oxygen during training sessions. Weeks 7 to 8. Introduce prickly pear. Start with fresh slices or 1 TSP powder daily with your largest protein meal or before training. Monitor for any glucose changes if you have diabetes. Continue consistent training and aim to increase intensity slightly, closer to the target rep range below, with added resistance as tolerated. Why? Layering prickly pear after you've already improved recovery, intake and delivery maximizes the chance of a measurable anabolic response. Weeks 9 to 12. Optimize and consolidate. Add a maintenance dose of prickly pear, 2 medium fruits or standardized powder. Keep tart cherry on training days, maintain nightly Greek yogurt, and keep hemp seeds daily. Track functional measures weekly. If progress plateaus, consider a small step up in resistance or volume. By week 12, you'll have replicated the practical conditions of many trials, consistent nutrition plus resistance, and should be able to judge whether the routine is benefiting your strength and function. A 3-move resistance routine anyone over 75 can start tomorrow. This routine focuses on big, functional movements that translate into daily life. Sit to stand, horizontal pulling to protect posture and shoulder health, and loaded, hip hinge, step. Equipment: a sturdy chair, a resistance band or light household weight, water jug, and a non-slip surface. 1. Sit to stand, chair stands. Purpose: builds quadriceps and hip extensor strength for rising from chairs, toilets, and cars. How to: sit mid-seat, feet hip-width, push through heels and stand without using hands if possible. If needed, lightly use hands while you build strength. Prescription: 2 to 3 sets of 8-12 repetitions, 2 to 3 times per week. Progress: when you can complete 3 sets of 12 easily, stand from a lower seat, add a small weight, or slow the descent to increase challenge. 2. Band or bodyweight row, seated or standing. Purpose: strengthens the back muscles and improves posture and ability to carry grocery bags. How to: loop a resistance band around a stable pole or use a door anchor. Sit or stand with a straight back, pull elbows back, squeezing shoulder blades, then slowly return. Prescription: 2-3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, 2-3 times per week. Progress by increasing band tension or performing more slow reps. 3. Hip hinge, supported step-up or partial squat. Purpose: develops the posterior chain, glutes and hamstrings, critical for stairs and balance. How to: for hip hinges, stand with slight knee bend. Push hips back while keeping chest up, then return. For step-ups, use a low step and step up with control. Prescription: 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, 2 to 3 times per week. Use support as needed, chair or rail. Progress by increasing step height or adding light weight. General safety and progression rules. Warm up for 5 minutes, marching in place, ankle circles. Aim for a little fatigue by the end of the set, not failure. If you cannot complete the target reps, reduce resistance or use support. Rest 48 to 72 hours between sessions if you feel soreness. Consistency beats intensity for long-term gains. For balance, include simple single-leg stands or tandem walking for 30 seconds at the end of sessions. Monitoring progress. Simple functional tests you can use at home. 30-second sit-to-stand count. How many complete stands in 30 seconds? Timed 10-step walk, comfortable pace. 5 times sit-to-stand time, speed to complete 5 controlled rises. Symptom journal, energy levels, recovery time after activity, how clothes fit or how stairs feel. Expect to see small but meaningful functional changes in 6 to 12 weeks if you are consistent with nutrition and training. Practical shopping and preparation tips. Prickly pear. Buy pre-prepared fruit where available, or purchase a powdered standardized extract if fresh is hard to source. If buying whole prickly pear, ask the produce clerk to remove spines or buy gloves to carefully peel and remove the exterior spines before slicing. Tart cherries. Concentrate and frozen juices are convenient. Dried tart cherries are shelf-stable and portable. Watermelon citrulline. Fresh watermelon is seasonal and hydrating. For reliable citrulline dosing, consider a powdered concentrate labeled for citrulline content. Hemp seeds. Store in a cool place or refrigerate to preserve the oils. Sprinkle on yogurt, cereals, or blend into smoothies. Greek yogurt. Choose full fat if that fits your dietary plan and tolerances. Plain yogurt with a touch of fruit lowers added sugars and preserves casein content. Cost and accessibility. The whole food options above are generally inexpensive compared with many specialty supplements. Powders and standardized extracts cost more, but can be used sparingly and may be worth the expense if access to fresh fruit is limited. Pairing and synergy. How to combine foods for maximal effect. Always pair these foods with a source of high-quality protein that contains leucine. A practical leucine target per meal for older adults is roughly in the ballpark of 2.5 to 3 grams. This is why even small portions of animal protein, dairy, or concentrated plant proteins can be helpful. If you eat Greek yogurt at night, add hemp seeds or a tablespoon of nut butter to increase both energy and amino acids. And be pre-exercise watermelon citrulline, 30-45 minutes before training, followed by a leucine-rich snack or meal after the session. Post-exercise recovery and anti-inflammation, tart cherries on training days to shorten soreness and promote consistent training. Prickly pear, either with your biggest protein meal or before training to pair the EC-disteroid betaine signal with nutrient availability. Addressing common questions and worries. Are these foods a replacement for protein powder or meat? No, think of them as strategic enhancers. They target specific aging physiology, inflammation, delivery, digestibility, overnight supply, mitochondrial health, and work best when combined with adequate protein intake and resistance exercise. Will I see results if I only change food? Likely not at the scale observed in trials that paired nutrition with resistance training. Diet shifts improve the environment. Training provides the stimulus. Both matter. Duda, how quickly should I expect to notice change? Functional improvements, like reduced soreness, more confidence on stairs and increased stamina, can appear within weeks. Measurable lean mass gains in trials typically emerged over 8 to 16 weeks. Individual responses vary widely. Are there risks with prickly pear or other concentrated forms? Most people tolerate these foods well. However, concentrated juices can affect blood sugar in susceptible individuals, and some drug interactions remain incompletely characterized. If you're on medications, especially insulin, sulfonylureas, or anticoagulants, speak with your clinician. How I use this with patients in clinic, real-world application. I start by listening. What activities do you want to keep doing? Is your priority walking the dog, climbing stairs, getting into and out of chairs independently, or carrying groceries? We select 2 foods from the list to begin with, often Greek yogurt at night and hemp seeds in the morning. Then I introduce a 3-move routine at a low starting intensity. After 2 weeks, we add tart cherries around training days. By weeks 6-8, we add watermelon citrulline pre-workout, and then prickly pear when compliance is solid. I always stress monitoring, the 30-second sit to stand, a walking test, and a symptom diary. If something feels off, diarrhea, dizziness, or unexpected blood sugar shifts, we stop and reassess. Patient follow-ups, what success looks like. Harold, the earlier tart cherry story, regained consistent walking because reduced soreness allowed him to train consistently. Margaret, Greek yogurt, returned to longer gardening sessions thanks to improved morning mobility. Robert, prickly pear, reported better recovery on stair climbs and resumed carrying groceries, small, real-world returns of independence, month by month. A note on evidence transparency and verification. The institution names and some trial details in background notes need careful verification before final publication. Several references from the source materials had ambiguous or misspelled institutional names. Those items are flagged for verification and will be linked in the video description with corrected citations. Any specific percent improvement I mention in narration is tied to the referenced trial conditions and will be shown on screen as reported in trial reference, with full citations in the description. If you want to dive into the primary literature, you'll find the links there. Final practical checklist before you begin. 1-page action plan. 1. Pick 2 foods from the list to start this week. Our most common starter pair, Greek yogurt at night, plus hemp seeds in the morning. 2. Begin the 3-move routine 2 to 3 times per week. Keep it short, consistent, and safe. 3. On training days, add tart cherry concentrate and a watermelon citrulline pre-workout drink as you progress. 4. After 6 weeks of consistent nutrition and exercise, add prickly pear fresh, juice or powder with your biggest protein meal or pre-workout. 5. Track function. Sit to stand, timed walk, and a symptom-just recovery journal weekly. 6. Consult your clinician if you take medications or have chronic conditions before starting concentrated extracts or major diet changes. A closing thought for anyone over 75. Biology changes with age, but the capacity for meaningful improvement remains. The 5 foods we've covered aren't magic, and none replaces medical care or a well-designed training program. What they do is give aging muscle targeted nutritional signals it can still hear. When you match these targeted foods to resistance training and realistic habits, you stack small advantages that add up to real functional gains. More walks, easier stairs, more time with family, and more independence. If you want the exact week 1 meal and exercise sheet I use with patients and the list of studies referenced in this video, check the description for a downloadable PDF with full citations and practical recipes. Please also consult your clinician to ensure these strategies fit your personal medical picture. Thank you for trusting this practical, measured approach. Keep it simple. Choose 2 things to start, do the 3 moves regularly, and be consistent for 6 to 12 weeks. Your muscles are still listening, and when you give them the right signal at the right time, you'll be surprised by what's possible. If this video helped you, share it with someone over 70 who wants to stay active, and check the description for study references and the week 1 plan.